Well, welcome to Mystic Revolution. I'm Susana Dumett, and I help people master their energy and sensory perception.
My name is Wendy R. Wolf, and I am a mystic mentor and a transformation facilitator. And together, we're excited to invite you to our new show, Mystic Revolution. This mystic journey is sometimes challenging and always worth it.
And today we're going to be talking about our first part of 7 reasons why Mystic Revolution and why now. And this first part is why mystics matter. That's what we're getting into today, but let's start with a little meditation. So just let yourself be comfortable in your chair. Notice your breath. Call all your attention back here now, centered. And we're already supported by the earth and connected with the earth. Notice that connection by noticing your weight in the chair and the pull of the heart of the earth all the way from the lower body to the earth. Let's let go like sand in our hands of everything that's not now, so we can just tune in together and have a good time. One more deep breath. And we'll get rolling.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad to talk to you about this. And I think given all the things that have happened in the last couple of years, and every day seems like there's something new stirring, something new coming up. I would say one of my top reasons for turning to mysticism or tuning into your own mysticism is to find inner strength and inner sovereignty.
Some of the thing about being mystic is owning that a lot of us who are mystics are healers and transformers in one way or another.
Yes.
And one of the main temptations of a healer is to be responsible for everything out there and not being responsible in here for us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pattern. Like changing that changes everything.
Absolutely. It gets back to the idea of walking your talk. I mean, that's kind of an overused phrase, but I didn't fully understand that until I saw that, my need to want to help other people was directly related to actually what I needed.
Yes.
And right, I mean, I think maybe a lot of people can relate to times in their lives when they wanted other people to validate or assure or give them something. And really, there are some things that we can only give ourselves. And part of the mystic path is being able to look at it full on, be with it, to see the truth of it, to validate it. And that's so important to weed through, right? Discern what is really yours to tend to, what is not. And then using your growing perception, your innate abilities, all the resources that you may not even fully realize you have to tend to yourself. And in that, you also are able to better tend to others. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think it's such a radical practice.
Yeah.
It's radical and it's compassionate for yourself and for others. And it really catalyzes transformations that can be really unexpected.
Yeah. And there's so many parts of what you just said that make things possible that weren't possible. And one of them for me was I was trying to carry everybody's backpack. I was trying to be responsible for everybody's stuff. And eventually I was strong and capable, but eventually like it ground me down into the, down. Then I couldn't function and I couldn't make the difference I wanted to make. Yeah. And so I started practicing this self-responsibility. Then there's space made to be able to help out there.
Yeah. When they're in creative frame of mind creative frame of mind is so pure and in the moment, right? All the chatter, all the other stuff, like ego stuff, it just drops out. You really are a pure antenna, a pure channel. And that's where visionary ideas, visionary projects, visionary thinking comes in. And I guess that goes to the idea that we all get to be artists in life and in our own life and in the greater world. And we need to give a lot more credibility to artists, I would say.
Yeah. And I agree. We're all artists. Like, it's not just visual. It's not just visual artists or, making movies. It's, scientists over and over have great breakthroughs. They do all the work and then boom, they have the breakthrough idea that takes us to evolutionary steps up in what's going on. And in the way we live our life. So yeah, vision. We can see what's coming, and we can also see what's possible. We can see what is, but we can see there's so many possibilities. Like, not every possibility is possible. I'm probably not going to be like a ballerina in this lifetime, right? But so much is possible, and we can see that, we can perceive that, we can know that, and make choices from there. We can start to use our perceptual and communication capacities in ways that are quite extraordinary. And most of us already are. It's just a matter of paying attention to it.
Right.
Which going is from here to there.
The directing of energy, which is the directing of energy and intention. And to your point, helping people deciding where you want to direct your attention, intention, and energy. Sometimes that's the hardest thing.
Oh gosh, for me it is.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Do I want an apartment or an RV or both? All right, let me look what this looks like. Potentially this looks like, oh, this is what I want, at least for today. This is what it's going to look like. Okay, let's go. It's challenging to because it takes, the whole idea with decide is, I understand, it takes everything else off the table. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
But before that, it's okay, all these things are on the table and they're playing, like little toys, little wind up toys. And I'm looking, okay, what do I choose?
Yeah.
It's so essential for creating.
It's so essential for creating. And I'm just going to say, conversely, sometimes when our thoughts are consumed, by things that like worry, fear, all the things that are going on, finding where to point to can be challenging. And finding where what you want in that can seem challenging. And so with this idea of mysticism and of really honing into the truth of what you desire, the truth of what you really want to create, is so important.
And for me, like the soul senses and the capacity to soul make change, soul perceive, soul lead, soul teach, all this is so useful. It's our birthright. It makes a difference.
Well, I think we often sort of think of the soul. Yes, I have a soul, you have a soul. And it's a thing that's there. And we don't pay too much of attention to it. And we may think of it from time to time. But really, it's like this center that allows us to tap into all of these different senses and sensory perceptions that are really designed. I almost think of it a little bit like a technology. I don't like to necessarily bring technology into this, but this whole system of mind, body, spirit, centered in soul, really is a technology foundation. We have the capacity to really work with as deeply and as intricately as we desire. And that dialing in to it enables us to dial in more directly to specific things in our lives, whether it's towards healing. We've talked a lot about the physical healing, the miracles of physical healing that had happened for both of us when we decided to really work with this inner technology and dial in. And of course, that can be applied to any aspect of life.
Yes. Yes. And my perception of this is that part of it is I'm aligned. I'm supported by heaven and earth. I've got
Yes.
everything that I need, and I'm a flow. And so I'm not starving trying to get from someone,
Yeah.
whatever it is, validation or love or whatever. Like, that's not there, especially when I'm like actively aligned. It's just not there.
It's not there.
And so it makes us, all of us, able to go and really stand in somebody's shoes
Yes.
and be able to validate their experience because they're hungry and they're thirsty and they need validation and love. And then they can start to align more, and then they don't need it. And then they can do it too. And it grows. This is, what we're talking here is, why does it matter that we're mystics? It matters because we're full, we're aligned with source, we're standing on the rock, like we talked last time, of our direct spiritual experience. And we can not just walk in it and be love and all that, we can spread the good infection.
Yeah. And I think the good infection, that really is being able to honor ourselves and honor others. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so important. You cannot have clarity of discernment if you don't have strength and certainty in yourself. The two really go hand in hand. You have to feel solid in yourself. Validating, the experience of your life, that you have a right to be here on the planet, that you have a right to your own ideas, opinions, and levels of certainty. And then out of that, right, we go into discernment.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to say, it doesn't mean I need to be just because I have certainty doesn't mean I have to tell anyone.
Right.
I can tell everyone or no one. I can tell
Yes.
my best friend. I can just write my journal. I can just talk to the divine. That is my choice. It doesn't mean I have more or less certainty or more or less faith if I'm talking or not talking.
Right.
It sometimes helps to validate, to say it out loud, and somebody's like, yeah, I noticed that too. Sometimes it helps to keep my own counsel and just hold on and see how things work. So there's all the choices still. I just really want to say that.
Yeah, there's all the choices. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I also want to say, for me, the energy of truth, for me, I read it as it's the same vibration as the certainty we're talking about, as the faith we're talking about, and as the trusting ourselves, our senses, our divine connection, spirit, earth, reality. It's the same place. It's just, am I on truth or am I not?
Yes. When we aren't conscious of the unconscious, it shapes our experience. We experience, we sense, we see through, let's take, for instance, a shadow element, right? And that dictates what our life is. And I can speak from my own experience of that in terms of beliefs, subconscious beliefs and energy that I was holding that really clouded and inhibited myself from having a full experience. And it wasn't until I learned how to get behind, go down into that shadow, or go down into my subconscious, where I could see what was really true there. And so we talked about like what is true for us. So there's the truth of me like experiencing you and having this experience.
Yeah.
But it also might be true that there is something that's subconscious that is also impacting my experience. And I think a good indication of that, and I'll just speak again from my own experience, is if you keep having the same not so great experience time and time again in different people, with different people in different scenarios, there's something in your subconscious that is impacting how you're seeing and sensing what's going on, what you're doing and what's going on. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, that's my experience. And then it's not just that I'm sensing, I'm creating it too. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, creating it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we want to be careful with, because obviously bad things happen. And this isn't to say you're absolutely solely responsible for all the terrible things that have happened to you. This is not that at all. It's you actually can have a little bit more control or mastery over what you are experiencing when you have this ability to make the unconscious conscious.
Yes. And to start to shift what we experience.
Yes, absolutely.
Until I started this work, I was almost 40. Until then, I was depressed or melancholy a lot, most of my life. It's like that's a lot of emotion, and I didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And I learned how to understand it for me as body communication. Oh, this is information from my body or other people's bodies. It's not the whole world.
Right.
It's information from my body that something needs attention.
Yes.
And I started to unpack having so much emotion because it was too much and I couldn't carry it all. And I just was, under the bed a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people can relate to that, where the overwhelm is so much, like you don't want to go out in the world. You actually get a lot of anxiety, or even some physical symptoms, physical illness, because we don't know what to do with the emotion, or we stuff it away and try and hide from it or numb it out by being self-destructive with various and sundry substances or whatever at certain points in our life, right? And really, when we can allow ourselves to just be present and find our center, we can start to look at these emotional clues, and that gets us to a greater and deeper knowing of what's going on. I mean, I don't care what it is, but it's the choice. It's a choice, and it's a practice to develop, right? It takes a little bit of time to get there, and you learn along the way. But it's a decision to try and operate from that place a little bit more. I'm not saying all or nothing, or there's all of it is a choice if you want to. But I know that the more that I do it, the more I'm likely to do it just unconsciously. It doesn't have to be like a big, I got to make a choice here. Yeah.
Well, I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I look forward to more. Now we're going to take a quick break.
Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Hey friends, Susana and I want to remind you that we offer a Mystic Revolution meditation. It's the first Tuesdays at 4:30 Pacific. Please come as our guest. You can see our website for the link. And thank you for playing with us.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks that deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
And welcome back to Mystic Revolution. Susana and I are talking about many fun things, as usual, around this time discernment. And many of the examples that we've used in this whole set of shows around discernment have been like personal choices, personal perspective. Because the truth is that as working healer, reader, and teachers, that's most of what people care about. That's most of what people want to look at.
Well, I think, it's so important to note that. And the inner experience and your own tending to thoughts and feelings, I mean, it's inextricably entwined with your mystical experience, your relationship with the divine. And as you know, the more you tune in and just start looking and listening and being present and letting your soul senses inform you, soul senses, the gifts from the divine, whatever you want to call them, inform you as you allow other things, right? The news, science, books you've read, people you admire. It all starts growing and evolving together. And your connection with the divine and understanding the different ways it presents itself to you become more clear too. So I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, beautiful. It's not all like law and shoulds, and it's like actual divine information informing people about how to live, how to break through, how to deal with their reality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it applies and works outside of the Christian context. In fact, I mean, I think what we're talking is sort of like overarching spiritual, I don't want to say
Paradigms.
spiritual laws, but right. Yeah.
Paradigms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paradigms.
Yeah. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Exactly. And it's
useful
like,
for everybody.
it's like, I just think of any practices of ritual or of manifesting or of self-healing. And it's that tuning in, it's that connecting and allowing it to come into you, embodying it, to call it forth in this realm, right? Call it forth in this realm.
And then act.
And then act. Absolutely.
Not just sit there. Awesome. Walk it out.
Yeah.
Great. Or in this case, fly.
Fly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. It reminds me of, I've talked about this before in public, but I am a big anti-fan of the John Mellencamp song, Life Goes On Long After the Thrill of Living Is Gone. It's like that Jack and Diane song. Are you familiar?
Oh, well,
yeah,
I lived in it.
life goes on. Right?
I lived in
You lived it.
Indiana, so you
It's like I'm a huge anti-fan. It's like I understand that this is how people feel. A lot of people feel. It's just like life sucks, then you die.
Yeah,
But there's so much more available.
there's so much more available.
And so this whole season that we're closing right now has been about why Mystic Revolution, why now? Because life is worth living when we are actually living it, when we are tasting the goodness of spirit.
When you taste the goodness of spirit. And I know that there are a lot of people that are feeling very isolated and alone, maybe have lost people that are dear to them and don't feel like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? My experience of it is the more that I leaned into it, the more solid and centered I became, the more grounded I became, like quite the opposite of thinking you're airy fairy up in the air, like quite the opposite. I became much more straight on and solid, clear. and more able to master my energy, master my emotions, master my mind, my mindset,
Yes.
and start to understand that I had access to energy, information, ideas, power that I never would have realized. I never could have
I know,
realized.
right?
Yeah.
And I'll just give a little story about this, just a little
Yeah,
story.
please.
So long ago, I had a secondary partner who lived in San Francisco. And
Mhm.
for no reason that I could tell you, I put a raisin in a box and wrapped it and sent it to him. I had no effing idea why. I just did. But when he asked
That's
me,
unusual.
and like, and then when he asked me why, I had no reason at all. So I made up this story, right? And then he's
Hmm.
like, well, that's really interesting. Then when I saw him, he told me this whole thing about why raisins are so important. And we did this ritual and we're around raisins and blah, blah. It was wild. It was wild. It was really important to him. And I'd picked up on it and sent it to him. It was really meaningful to him. But to me, I'm just like, oh, well, I just made up a story because I didn't know.
Yeah, it's amazing how these things happen. And so the story part, especially if you don't really know what's going on, I mean, that's, we've all done it. It's really important. But to your point about discernment, especially for readers and healers, just seeing it is enough and letting the seeing be. And
Yes.
then the interpretation by that person or by ourselves can then bubble up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, it reminds me of another. Can I do another little story?
Of course.
It was the first reading I ever did all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh God. And I read in the sky space, it was really big, important. The joke, basically, it's the joke, black and white and red all over.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I read, black and white and red all over.
Okay.
And I embellished on it because I was like, so I told them, and it's not like what I said wasn't relevant, but it really wasn't the point. Right. And then
Right.
when the thing's over, he was so kind to validate me. And he said, for 6 months, I've been working on this amazing art project that's my whole life. And I haven't told anyone. And it's called Black and White and Red All Over.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, right? It's just so validating. Just say it. Don't
Just
need
say it.
worry.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for another lovely convo. And I'll let you get back to your tree friends. But before we go, let's just do a quick closing meditation. So I invite you to just close your eyes and again tune into yourself, sort of settled into yourself. See if you can call in energy of solidness and that core ball of light that we talked about before in your heart. And allow yourself in this moment to be strong, to be strong, whatever that means to you. And then also allow your heart to be free and open up, if you can, into compassion for yourself, for others. If that feels hard, you can, right? We can always feel empathy and compassion for, I don't know, a little child or a baby animal. Allow the feeling of that come into your heart. And with that, let's just open our eyes and say one more goodbye. Wendy, do you want to say anything else before we close?
Thanks for a great season, friends. We look forward to you playing with you next season in Mastering Energy.
Yeah. See you soon.
And that concludes this portion of Mystic Revolution. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to get notified of new content. And don't forget to like and share. Join the Mystic Revolution. Click on the link in the description to get more information or visit themysticrevolution.com. Another creative art production by Retro Earth Studio.
So with that, I feel I was quite flowery and dramatic about that.
Lovely.
Wendy, even though we are flying and soaring, do you want to bring us back down to earth? And
And I just want to contextualize this, that in the season, the focus has been why Mystic Revolution and why now?
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time on how mystics make a difference, as well as how to apply discernment, which is so important when we're dancing our soul senses.
yes. And we're just so grateful you're here. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments below.
And thank you to our sponsors for making this show possible.
All right, that's all for now.